This time on Basic Cooking, we're making a brown sugar and honey glazed ham, deviled eggs, and mashed potatoes from scratch, just in time for Easter. We've got our oven heating to 325, and then we're going to go ahead and prepare the ham. First off, you want to go ahead and take the ham. It comes in a plastic package, and we're using a picnic ham. You want to cut it open a little bit before you pull all the skin off, because there are juices in it that you want to drain off before you open the package. So we get the package open, and then I just like to rinse it to get some of the brine off of the ham itself, and in case there are any unsavory juices, you can get those off there also. Don't forget to pull the little plastic guy out. Alright, we can take this over to the table and start cutting it up. Alright, now the first step in preparing our ham is to go ahead and score the outside of it. Now, you've probably seen hams that have that fancy diamond shape on the outside of it that looks so pretty after it's been cooked. Well, that's what we're doing here, is we're scoring the outside of it so we'll get those diamonds. You want to go around the outside here, all the way around. You're only going in about 1/8 of an inch thick here, so you're not really going too deep, just enough to open up the skin. And what that's going to do is, whenever we're going to put the glaze on later, it's going to allow it to seep into the meat a lot easier than if we did not score it. And once we've gone around, then we need to go down the sides. Now, of course, as you can see, some of this is very tough to cut through, so be careful you don't cut your fingers. Alright, and that's pretty much it. All you have to do is score the outside, and then we're going to go ahead and toss this in the oven. Now, instead of using one of our good pans to cook this ham, we're going to use one of these disposable aluminum pans. They're about $4 I paid for this one. And the reason we're doing this is whenever you put the honey and brown sugar glaze on the ham, it's going to go onto the bottom of the pan and it's going to turn hard as rock candy, and you're never going to be able to get it out of your pan. So you just want to go ahead and use one of these disposable ones. That way you can just throw it away when you're done and you don't have to worry about the headache. So we take the ham and we place it in the pan face down. That's so that all the fat on the outside has a chance to render down into the ham, and that's going to make it juicy and delicious and give it that full ham flavor that we want. Our oven's at 325 degrees, and now we can go ahead and put the ham in. Now, whenever you pick this thing up, you want to hold it from the bottom because these pans are a little bit flimsy, and the ham is 6 pounds. Now, we're going to cook this ham for 20 to 30 minutes for each pound. So that's going to be about 2 hours to 3 hours to cook the entire thing. But we're going to check it when it gets past the second hour, because all we really need is an internal temperature of 160 degrees. So we'll come back to the oven here in just a minute. Now that we've got our ham in, we can go ahead and start making the sides. We're going to make some deviled eggs. And to do this, we're going to have to boil some eggs. Now, if you want to make a dozen deviled eggs, you cook 6 eggs. I'm going to put in 8 because they don't always peel right, and you never know when you're going to lose a couple of them, or maybe just want to eat a couple of them while you're making them. So we're going to put 8 in here while the water's cold before we even turn the temperature on. Then we're going to turn it on high and wait for them to come to a boil. Now while we're doing that, we can also put on our potatoes. The water itself hasn't started boiling yet, but that's okay. You can still toss the potatoes in there. So we'll just go ahead and lay those in the water. And now we just have to wait for them to boil. Now that the water's boiling for our eggs, we want to go ahead and set our timer to 15 minutes. That's going to give us some perfectly boiled eggs that we'll be able to easily peel. Now all we have to do is wait for them to boil and for the potatoes to finish, and we can start assembling the sides. Alright, it's been 15 minutes and it's time to take the eggs off the stove. Go ahead and turn off the heat on them and bring them on over to the sink. What we're going to do is we're going to run cold water on them, and what that's going to do is two things. One, it's going to stop the cooking process dead in its tracks, and two, it should cause the white of the egg to shrink up a little bit away from the shell to make it easier for us to peel. So we're going to leave this running for just a couple of minutes here to make sure they're cooled off. Okay, the eggs have cooled down and now we can go ahead and peel them. You're basically going to take the egg, crack it on a solid surface just enough to get the eggshell to crack open for you. And then you're just going to peel along the skin here, not going very deep because you don't want to ruin any of the meat if you don't have to. But you will find when you're peeling eggs that you will lose some of the egg. Now if you see that you're having a little difficulty getting the shell off the egg, you can also turn on a little water, and the force of the water pressure will actually help you peel the eggshell off. So we just got to go ahead and peel all these eggs, and then it'll be time to make the filling and stuff them. And there we go, one down. Okay, let's go ahead and start making our deviled eggs. First off, we're going to want to mince some onion to put inside the deviled egg mix. So we'll slice the ends off here, cut it in half, peel the outside off. You've seen me dice before, and we've always cut a section about this big. This time we're going to cut almost paper thin slices, and that's what's going to give us our minced onion. And that should actually be enough right there. And then chop it really small. And there you are, some nice minced onions. We're going to go ahead and chop them up a little bit more just to make sure they're nice and tiny. Alright, now that we've got the onions ready, we can go ahead and start cutting the eggs in half. You just slice them lengthwise, down the middle, straight through. And we'll go ahead and take these out of here because we're going to need the bowl to put our middles inside of. You're going to go ahead and pull the yolks out. Be gentle when you pull the yolks out because sometimes what will happen is that egg white will rip, and that won't make it any good for a deviled egg. Now we're only doing 6 eggs here. We cooked 8 and we have 8 available to us, but we'll just have a couple extras in case the whites rip here while we're taking the yolks out or cutting them. That way we'll still end up with an even dozen. Alright, now that we have the eggs sliced open and the yolks out, we can start making the filling for the deviled eggs. Let's go ahead and move these out of the way for now. Now you have your egg yolks in the bowl. You basically just want to take a fork and smash them really good, so that it's a nice, thin, smooth mixture here rather than big and chunky, because you want your filling for the deviled eggs to be creamy and not chunky like an egg salad. Alright, those look like they're good enough. You're going to get some more mixing as we mix these other items in. We're going to add a teaspoon of garlic salt. And then our onions. And we're going to start off with just a tablespoon of mayonnaise rather than 2 tablespoons. We'll see how much we actually need to use here. So you put a tablespoon of mayonnaise in and use your fork. Mix it up. Mash it together good. You want to make sure that you get the onions mixed in good, the mayonnaise mixed in good. And see, you can already tell we need more mayonnaise here. So you're going to whip this up here into a consistency that's almost like a pudding. And it's going to form that inside for you. All right, that's our mixture. Let's go ahead and fill some eggs. You basically just want to take one of your eggs, scoop out some filling, scrape it down like this, and there you go. A nice filled deviled egg. And a nice touch that you can put on it after you've made them is to go ahead and sprinkle them with just a tiny bit of paprika. And that's pretty much all there is to making deviled eggs.